What is a vector? Quantities like length, mass, and temperature that have magnitude but not direction are called scalars. But quantities like velocity, acceleration, and force that have magnitude and direction are called vectors. Now in mathematics, a vector is represented geometrically by a directed line segment, like this one, AB. And this is the notation for a vector. Notice the sort of half arrow over the top of it. It's not the same as the notation for array, which is a full arrow. So that would be array, this would be vector. Notice also the order of the points is very important. A is the initial point, B is the terminal point. When you list a vector, you always start with the initial point and you finish with the terminal point, the point where the arrowhead goes. We also have a notation for the magnitude or length of a vector. It looks like absolute value, but you can read it as absolute value or magnitude of vector AB. Now, two vectors are considered equal if they have the same length and the same direction. So, looking at these vectors, which ones are equal? Well, these two have the same length, but they have opposite directions, so they're not considered equal. This one would be called vector AB. Vector AB equals vector V, because they have the same length and direction. Another vector that has the same length is vector W, but again, it's a different direction, so it's a different vector. Now, again, it's very important that you know when you're naming a vector, you have to name it with either two letters, one denoting the initial point, the other denoting the terminal point, or you can call it by one letter name, usually a lowercase letter like V or W. But when you're handwriting the name of a vector, you always put this half arrow over the top. In your textbooks, you may see a boldface letter V for vector V. But since it's hard to write boldface by hand, usually you go with the arrow. So this vector, by the way, would be called vector FE, right? Because the initial point is F and the terminal point is E. So just remember, a vector is represented by a directed line segment. You can name a vector by using its endpoints, first its initial point, then its terminal point, or you can give the whole vector a single lowercase letter name, but always with the half arrow over the top. And remember, two vectors are equal if they have the same length and same direction. They can be in different locations, but if they have the same length and same direction, they're the same vector.